Monica Malpass, and I'll be emceeing the keynote luncheon address at the Pennsylvania Conference for Women this year on November 19th. A very exciting event. We hope to see you there, but we have some treats in between. There will be, by the way, at that conference, 100 guest speakers on every topic from career advancement to how to quiet the inner critic that you might have, as well as how to ask for a raise and some other things, everything in between. So it's going to cover a lot of material. And in fact, I'm here to talk to one of the guest speakers to give you a little sneak peek. And we're very excited to have Deanna Byrne from Pricewaterhouse Coopers. Thank you for being with us today. Let's talk about your particular story, because you did come through an organization. You got in the door early, if you will, and you stayed, and you've been there for throughout your career, seemingly.
Yes, I started with Pricewaterhouse Coopers when I was an intern. I did my first Drexel co-op there, and I'm still there 26 years later. And you know, I found that being able to find a place where I'm provided the flexibility to raise a family of 4 and still pursue a very challenging career has been really beneficial.
And was that something that they were used to doing for other women, or were you sort of a test case?
Interestingly enough, well, there were when I was pregnant with my first child, there were 3 of us, 3 women, and I think some of the people in the office were wondering what was going on, that these women were deciding that they were going to start families. But there weren't any female partners when I first started, and I'm thrilled to say now there's over 20 female partners just in the Philadelphia office. Yes, I became a partner in 2003 after having 2 children, and then I've had 2 since then. And I've been able to, it's very challenging. Every parent knows that, regardless of whether they work inside of the home or outside, but I've been able to make that work.
So tell me a little bit about the specifics. I mean, did you ask for certain days off or time periods off, or Christmas or holidays, Halloween parade, that kind of thing? Did you ask them, or did they come to you and say, we like what you do so much, we're going to work with what you need?
Well, I think it's become very evident that there was a talent drain of females leaving the profession, and how could the firm ensure that they were helping women find a way to address raising a family and still being successful at work. And so there became to be a much larger focus on flexibility and how you could manage some things with going to Halloween parades and the like. Now, over the course of my career, I have reduced at certain times, and then I've brought my schedule back up to 100%. So I've been allowed to modify that kind of for what worked for my family at different times.
So in a way it was flex time, but was it as formal as that, where you split a job with another person who also needed flex time?
No, it's always been, whether I wanted to work an 80% schedule where I didn't necessarily share a job with someone else, I just reduced my workload during the week. Yeah.
And have you found that there was any pushback? Was it sort of a long growth spurt for them to come on board, or do you feel like they got it right away?
I think that, well, I've been there over 25 years, right? And I've been a parent for 16, and what I've seen, from the time I had my first child, where there wasn't a lot of structure around the number of programs to where it is now. So when I had my first child, I had 6 weeks of maternity leave, and it was like you called the work center and tried to arrange when you were coming back. Some people didn't really think you were going to come back, right?
Of course.
And then when I had my 4th, I had 14 weeks of paid leave, and and there was much more structure around onboarding people back from their leaves and that type of infrastructure in the firm. And now we have 6 weeks of paid leave for men. So it's just continuing to kind of advance and focus on families, I feel like.
And that has to be a good thing. Do you feel like you are able to give your family the attention you want to? I know all of us make a balance of it, so.
Absolutely. There's a lot of controlled chaos, I like to say, right? So I think there's a need to really prioritize on what's important and what's not important, and recognize that some things that you'd love to do, you just won't be able to do. I think sometimes women overextend and they want to be involved in the community and the school and extra projects at work, and at times they have to recognize it's okay to say no, and ensure that where you want to spend your time, you're kind of jumping in and learning as much as you can and spending your time with your family when you're with your family. And that prioritization, I think, is really important.
Separate from the work-home life balance, how do women in professional situations become more included in the decision-making, or maybe in the career track? I know you've had good luck with that. So do you have any advice for other women who maybe are either stuck or starting out, who don't feel like they're included in conversations with the people in charge, who often are men?
Well, I would say to continue to focus on building your network. Always ensure that you're focusing on your specialty and learning and working hard and trying to take on new opportunities, so that you can kind of broaden your network and get involved in more of the discussions and involved in more of the decision making. I think that's really helpful.
And do you also find that times have changed and sort of the world is catching up with both ideas of more women being on boards, women
Yes.
who are being in the management level?
Yes.
So not just the homework balance again, but also including them in the upper echelons of a company?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we look at the statistics, they're not where we want them to be.
Right.
But again, if we look 20 years ago, clearly we're making progress. I think there's a shared responsibility between organizations to ensure that they're really focusing on getting the right talent, regardless of gender, to do the jobs, and making sure that they're giving those opportunities equally across to women and men. And then there's also a responsibility of women to potentially take a risk that they may not feel that they're completely comfortable with, right? Have some confidence in themselves, ensure that they're prepared for that next role. And I think when an organization is focused and the individual is focused, we'll see a continued advancement of women in organizations. I think we find that I think there's a statistic that men will apply for an opportunity when they have 60% of the criteria that are listed, and a woman will wait until she has all the 100% of the criteria.
Wow.
And so they're just much more confident in thinking that they'll figure it out.
Right.
And women want to make sure that they have everything in place before they put themselves out there.
Right. So on the one hand, that's to be admired because you don't want to be the first woman they picked for that job and then fail.
Right, exactly.
But on the other hand, it holds you back because that hesitation means somebody else got the job
Someone else
first.
may take it, exactly. And I think that's where you have to leverage your network, right? And really ensure that the skills that you'd be bringing, does someone that you've worked with that knows you, knows your abilities, do they think that you'd be able to do that? So I think sometimes we need to leverage our networks and our sponsors more and talk to them about taking on an opportunity that we may not otherwise think we're capable of.
Taking a risk. All right, Deanna Byrne, thank you so much. We
Thank
appreciate your
you.
insight. Look forward to seeing you at the Pennsylvania
Thanks,
Conference
I
for
look forward
Women.
to seeing you there.
And you can see more on our website. You can also come to the conference November 19th. I'm Monica Malpass. Hope to see you there.